In this video, we are going to look at different functions available in R which can be used to export and import .txt and .csv files to and from our local hard drive. Next, we will discuss paste functions and how to use them to stitch together various strings for automating import and export processes. Data tables can be read in R by using read.table function. This function reads the data tables into R and stores them as data frame. So in this case, we are creating imported tab file data frame by reading in search_terms.txt file. Let's look at search_terms.txt. This file is stored in the working directory of R, so we don't have to specify the path to this file. Having a look on this file shows that the first row of the data table has information for column names. So we are going to set header equals true. When I created this file, I created this as a tab delimited file, so we are going to set the separator to be a tab. Strings as factors we are going to choose as false for two reasons. First, when we have bigger files, strings as factors when chosen true will make the entire import very slow. And second, for the candidate, all these candidates, we don't have any relationship between them, so having them as factors will not serve any purpose. Let's import it. We can have a look at the variables of the data frame. In this case, we just have two variables, number and candidate. Next, we are going to import another file which I had saved as comma separated file. So in this case, the two columns, the separator between them is a comma, but this file still is a txt. So let's copy the path because this is not in the working directory of R. So we will have to give entire path to this file, name.txt, and we know header is equal to true and separator in this case is comma. Strings as factors we are going to choose as false again, and we call it as imported tab file 2. We get the same result. So these two lines of code produce identical data frames. Next, we are going to move to read.csv function. This function is used, as the name indicates, to read CSV files. In this case, we are creating a new data frame awards by reading awards share managers.csv. Again, this file is stored in the work directory of R. We can have a look. The first row of this file has header information, so we are going to set header equals true. In read.csv, header is by default equals true. It will make more sense if we had no information here and we had to choose header equals false. We can also choose strings as factors equals false because we don't really need the relationship between any of these factors. We don't want to have them as factors, and we want to have a faster process, so we will choose it as false. Let's look at our awards. Let's import it. So we see all the variables have been imported. So first row, we can see that the first row of the CSV file has been used by R to assign variable names to this data frame. This piece of code shows you that read.table can also read the same CSV file. We have to specify the separator, in this case equals comma, and header equals true if you want to have it as header, and strings as factors equals false once again. So these two pieces of code again produce identical data sets. So how would you choose that? How will you know these two data sets are identical? We can have this as logical and we can put a table around it. It should all be true. So we made a comparison that everything between these two R objects is identical. Now to export a data frame from R onto our hard drive as .txt or .csv files, we use write.table or write.csv functions. So let's export the imported tab file into our work directory under this name exported dataset.txt, and separation in this case we want is a tab. Let's look at the exported dataset. Wow, it has a few things wrong with it. First, we have this weird quotes around all the strings, and second, there's additional set of row numbers which are provides by default. So we have to choose two options in this case. Row names equals false, this is true by default, and quotes by default is true, we have to choose it as false, we don't want the quotes around. And the column names is, let me show you once again, in this file the header was shifted forward because a row number was added by R, but row number R does not add a header to that, so that kind of messes up the export. So we have to choose column names as an A, so there will be an empty space on the top of row numbers. If you want the row names to be true, then you should choose column names equal an A. Let's do that. Now we have removed the quotes and the row number is empty, and we don't have a messed up header in this file. Okay, same way we can write a CSV file. We are going to use imported tab file again, and we are going to put it in our working directory. And row names we are going to set here false again. Again, we can choose these options. I will show you both. Exported data set. Again, in this case, things don't look very terrible. But if you import this, if you open this by using a notepad, everything you will see that things are not very clean. So we have quotes are everywhere around, which we don't want to give sometimes. So let's choose these options and submit the code. In this case it looks good. We have a space on the top, we have name, number, and candidate in proper form. And if you open it by using notepad, we don't have the weird quotes, but we have the comma as it should be because it's a comma separated file. Here we have a space in front. It basically tells that there will be empty space if you open it in Excel. So that concludes our import and export section. Let's move on to the paste functions. Paste functions in R are essentially the tools to glue together stuff. In this case, we are gluing together A, B, and C letters with numbers 1, 2, and 3. So let's submit this and look at X. So X is A, B, C. The thing to be noted here are the spaces. A and B have space in between them. So if we don't want that space, we have to choose paste zero function together. Paste zero function is basically a paste function in which we have separation equals nothing. So in this case we will have the same output. So X, again we can do our test of X equal X 0, statement should be true. Let's use the paste function to glue together different strings and use the outcome of the paste function in a write.csv function. Let's create a new variable called dir, which contains information about the path to a directory. Write.csv will import a tab file, and the paste zero, this function, let's look at the output of this function. It has entire path through the directory and the name of the file. Let's submit this command and look at the output of our thing. Here looks pretty good.